Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now, given that we're kind of in the midst of the US election, actually right now, polls are kind of closing as we speak, I wanted to give kind of a quick update of kind of the general state of the market. And honestly, this could be the point we never see Bitcoin prices, at this point ever again, right? Now, obviously, there are a couple assumptions that I'm making there that we'll be going through on the video to kind of talk about how I'm getting there and some of the things that would need to happen. But this is definitely it's a thing, right? I mean, we haven't seen $10,000 Bitcoins for years now at this point. So, this is a thing and it definitely happens. We actually have a chart to track this. And so we'll be looking at that a little bit later on in the video. But at least starting out right now, what I want to do is go in and check out crypto bubbles, because what we can see is kind of the whole market right now, just everything is jumping. I don't think we have, I guess Tron is kind of the only negative that I'm seeing on the chart here. I guess we've got a couple. We've got Radium that's back a tiny bit. Modena is back a little bit. We've got a little bit over here, but Solana up almost 9% this past day. That's a decent chunk. I mean, we're seeing Bitcoin up 5%, Tau Fetch almost 15, AI coins doing well. Obviously, we've talked about Sui multiple times. Sui's doing really quite well. Also, ICP and Jasmine, two of the channel favorites, up a decent bit. Kind of everything is going nuts right now. And if I had to guess, this is potentially some speculation. The market is kind of thinking that we're going to see a Trump victory, and I think that's kind of widely agreed that would be a good thing for crypto. And so people are kind of pricing that in, kind of expecting that to happen. If that doesn't happen, I would imagine that we see all of these probably come down just as much, if not more, than what we're seeing them up right now. But I think usually the markets are relatively good at picking up on this type of stuff. So if I had to guess, this is probably the market essentially kind of getting a jump on pricing some of this in, since we have started to see some of these results come back. Looking at the fear and greed index, we can see, and this is part of the reason we need to be a little careful, is because we can see that the market is operating more out of fear, the market is operating more out of greed than they are fear at this point in time. So there is going to be a little bit more maybe rampant speculation than what we might expect, or what we might normally kind of guess that we would see on an average type of event. This is definitely an event where there's a lot of people who are kind of operating more out of being maybe aggressive or greedy rather than overly fearful that something's going to happen. We can kind of see this on the chart right now. We can see that we've seen a pretty strong jump. We did kind of hit this trend line. We broke a tiny bit below it, but overall, I mean, we kind of broke a little bit below it and then kind of bounced right off. And so far we've seen a pretty strong move to the upside. We obviously haven't returned to kind of the most recent highs that we saw just over a week, or I guess just under a week ago at this point. So I would imagine, depending on how the election turns out, we probably can continue to see this moving up. However, there is a world in which maybe we don't see that, right? Because coming over to the visual screener real quick, we can see that the market is very much closing shorts and entering longs, meaning that kind of a huge piece of the market is looking or kind of expecting prices to go up, right? And so coming back to the chart, even if Trump does win, and this is kind of seen as the best case scenario for crypto, maybe we see the market kind of sell off a little bit, just because that's kind of what the market was expecting, and it was kind of a buy the rumor, sell the news type of ordeal. Again, I don't know. I'm kind of more biased to the fact that I think it will probably continue to the upside, and I think pretty likely we'll see it break all-time highs. Now, again, we don't know this for sure, but that's kind of my guess, at least at this point. Again, nobody knows what's going to happen in the market, least of all me, and so this is just purely a guess. What we can see is, the chart's still looking pretty good. I mean, we are holding the uptrend. We did not make a lower low. We're still hitting higher lows here. Looking at the RSI indicators, we talked about this a little bit a couple videos ago. The RSI continues to kind of go down or stay level when price of Bitcoin continues to go up. And here we can see, price goes up while RSI goes down. And here on the second leg, we can see price goes up while RSI goes down. This is called bullish divergence. And usually this is a really, really positive thing when you see this in the RSI charts, particularly when you see it so frequently, all within kind of a short period of time. And so this is definitely it's looking good. I would imagine that, crypto continues, and Bitcoin specifically continues to lead the way. As we talked about in my earlier video, based on if we follow this trend line, which we have bounced off of, we could be potentially seeing, $86,500 Bitcoin at the end of the year, which I think would be awesome, right? And I don't think anyone would be complaining about that. Now, if you are looking to trade some of this volatility, particularly if we do see Trump winning, obviously we're probably going to see a pretty nice move to the upside. And so if you are interested in trading some of this, you can feel free to use my BTCC link in the description below. I do also have the Margex link as well, but I partnered up with them for the month. And honestly, like the more time I've spent on their site, I've really enjoyed it. There's been a lot of really cool and interesting things on the site. You can do up to 500x leverage. You can do just normal spot trading if you're kind of against leverage trading. You can do as low as like 1x leverage. So, there's anything essentially from like 1 to 500x on Bitcoin, at least specifically. Some of the smaller alts, you have a little bit lower leverage, but overall, they've got a pretty good like selection there. One of my favorite things that I have seen is tokenized stocks, which is really cool because, maybe if you don't have access to the US equities market, or if you're just super heavily based in crypto, like, you can invest in stocks here. And also something I found kind of interesting is you can actually leverage trade stocks. So that's kind of like an interesting thing that I found that I think is actually pretty cool with BTCC. So anyway, if you are interested, feel free to use my link in the description below. You can go on ahead, get signed up, and they also have, I believe, up to $10,055 of various like new user sign up bonuses. Some of them are like for completing KYC and depositing money and things like that. So they're really easy to get. Some of them are more volume based. If you do a decent bit of leverage trading, I think you would be pretty surprised to see how quickly you could hit some of those volume bonuses. But anyway, overall, you got to make your own decisions and things like that. So do what seems to work best for you. If you are interested, I just do have those links in the description. Now, going on, I wanted to take a look at the never look back chart. Now, the never look back chart is a little bit interesting because it essentially shows the price that Bitcoin has never dropped below kind of ever again, right? And so what we can see is there are periods of time where we see these amounts, and this is usually kind of in the uptrend, right? And so obviously this is going to kind of keep climbing up as Bitcoin continues to go up. But this is kind of like the new floor, right? So obviously we saw a point here where 1 penny was the floor for Bitcoin back in 2010, and then we could see here kind of for an extended period of time of 2011. $2 was the floor, and then we could see again here in 2014 $165. Then we jumped up to 200 here, and then back up back in 2017 $3,000 was kind of the floor, and then we saw 5,000 back in 2019, and then this most recent bear market we saw 15,000 was kind of the floor. We never dropped below 15,000, and now recently we've kind of had this move up to 25 and then 53, and now if we zoom in pretty closely here, what we can see is we are actually up towards like I think it's like 69,000. Usually I try not to follow this too closely, mainly just because the price is continuing to go up, right? Like when we haven't seen a fairly strong pullback, usually this type of thing is, it will always come down, right? And so like what we can see here is like we saw 53 being held pretty consistently. This is when we probably saw that dip down, in early September. But other than that, it's been pretty strong to the upside. Maybe we never see below 53 again. Maybe we do. But ultimately, with the election coming in and potentially based on how kind of the overall market reacts to the election, I think this could potentially be a point where potentially we never see below $71,000 like Bitcoin again, just because there's so many things going on within the market, right? If Trump wins, he said he would do a Bitcoin like treasury reserve. So I think that could very much potentially kick off like almost like a nation, like a battle of nations per se, right? If the US is going really hard on trying to accumulate Bitcoin, maybe China gets in on it and tries to keep up. Maybe Russia also does the same. Maybe, Brazil and Japan and Germany and France and, all these other countries, they jump in on the action too. This is something that would obviously sustain massive buying pressure within Bitcoin. Also, just kind of more pro-crypto and crypto-friendly stances within the US, I think would also do wonders for kind of the overall crypto market. And so all of these are things that could provide, really strong and sustained buying power to a point where even if we pull back, 60% from $300,000, we're still not getting back to $70,000 Bitcoins, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And this is an opportunity where, potentially we never see this again. And it could potentially hinge out on the election. And so again, this is not any sort of financial advice, or, this is not me trying to tell you to go, dump $100,000 into Bitcoin right now, because it very well, it could be a very much like a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. But I just kind of wanted to bring that up to you, based on a lot of the like more bullish factors that we are seeing within the market, like this very much could be a time in which maybe we never see this price again. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe. It really does help me out. Also, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, please feel free to drop in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of my comments. So if you have anything you want me to see, That would be the best way to do that. Also, if you are looking to trade some of this volatility and potentially some of the action that we see based on the results of the election and some of these other global events that we've talked about a couple times before on the channel, I do have those links to both Margex and BTCC in the description below. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.